Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is your AstroShaman, Pernell Bobby. I am here with a guest backstage at the moment, and his name is Simit. It's a dear friend of mine. I actually have not done a live session with him in maybe a year or so time. Today, we're talking mental health. Why is it important? But specifically on the men's gender side, there's been a tremendous amount of changes, tremendous amount of shifts. And Semi coming in, especially from the fitness industry, which is still so frequent with mental health, is going to come in and share a lot of his pieces, personal stories from myself, personal stories from him, and really why it all matters. So I'm gonna take the moment to bring him back up front and say, welcome, welcome, welcome. How
Yo,
you
what's
doing,
up,
my
bro?
G's?
Good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what interested you in this discussion today? Like, what came to mind? Why was mental health the first thing on the brain?
Well, it's where the world is going. It's where things have been shifting. Even the term itself, mental health, has become a thing, right?
Hmm.
And so I always like to think that's something that's always been around and something that always should have been addressed.
Mm.
Um, Even in the fitness realm, right? We immediately want to go with like how work on your body and what's in the mirror, what's in the mirror. But
Hmm.
when you address it from like that base level standpoint, you can kind of miss a big picture because it really is your mindset that drives you to go create an action in the first place.
Mm.
So we take care of our teeth, we take care of our bodies. The mind is absolutely there as well. Your brain is this engine attached to the perfect software, attached to the perfect hardware.
Absolutely. And I can attest, started off really in the fitness industry, my first major, I can attest when I first started exercising, I did it because I wanted to eat food. I'm not going to lie. It was what it was. Like I wanted to eat food whenever, however, whatever. And it had nothing to do with nothing. If I'm being honest, in the beginning, it had nothing to do with mental health. And it wasn't until I started exercising, taking care of my body, I started realizing, oh snap, that something was not on point with my mental health. If I'm being
Mm,
honest, like it wasn't until then that I realized, like, oh wow, like my mental health, I didn't even consider the word. If I'm being honest, I wasn't thinking, oh, my mental health is blah blah blah.
mm.
But what I did started recognizing is that my thoughts started changing. My thoughts started changing, and I couldn't clarify whether they were clearer thoughts, more accurate thoughts. All that was just not a part of the discussion. All I knew is in the beginning was when I worked out, I felt better. And I
Yeah,
feel like when we talk mental health, one of the biggest issues was I started to work out to feel better. So you being in an exercise space, what's the detriment of that? Because I can tell you from a personal standpoint, but I know you're leading in that space all the time. It's like I got to the point where I became addicted to using exercise to manage the mental, and I realized it was very detrimental for my health. So how can
yeah.
you contribute as a leader in that space?
Well, I'll tell you what. Constantly this you got to understand that like in this world, you're like at the center, right? And in all these directions, like north, south, east, west, northwest, you're like always operating on all these scales all the time. It's never just as simple as like, I'm gonna like train and then next thing you know, training is good for you, but next thing you know, it can become the only outlet or an addictive outlet that you have to your escape. And maybe that's what it ends up becoming. It ends up becoming escapism. So there's a process in understanding that like, yeah, training is good for me, and it's like it's this physical hygiene, but I also feel like at the same time, when it becomes that crutch, so to say, or that escape route,
Mm-hmm.
what happens when you don't have that?
Mm.
I always preach to a lot of people. I do this thing, I do deprivation training. I deprive myself of that which I know will do me good, because there will be a point in time in life that I might not have it. Fasting is literally pretty much just fasting. Like, you just don't only fast from food or from water. You can fast from people. You can fast from good
Right.
habits. You can fast from bad habits, from an excess amount of dopamine.
Mm.
So you
1,000%.
you have to train that aspect as well, like living without.
So you're Capricorn rising, right? We obviously have a large astrology audience, human design, astrology. Thank y'all all for being here. Thank y'all all for hitting the thumbs up and liking this video, joining in on this transmission of mental health. All right, you're Cap rising, right? Any other astrological placements you want to share them. But I have this question on screen for you. You know, as a Capricorn rising, like, can you tell us about your personal mental health journey, right? Especially as a male. And I think what's important about that is sometimes people forget that Capricorn is a female sign. I'm a Scorpio rising. It is a female sign. So it's like, we got a Libra rising in the chat right now. So it's like, as a male,
I'm a Libra sun. I'm a Libra.
Libra sun. So this is the dichotomy right here, right? Like we have these elements, and we know that Capricorn has a very professional lens, like status, professionalism, climbing the ladder, aligning with a vocation versus a career. These are all themes. What can you tell us about your journey as a Cap rising when it comes to mental health, especially in the workspace?
So, okay, for those who won't not even know the whole astrology talk, I guess they could also learn what that is through my sign, right? So I'll definitely speak on what I think, Capricorn rising means for me as well. So look, Capricorn rising, it's funny. I never, when I really understood astrology to some degree, I kind of always thought like, yeah, I know I'm Libra, but like my whole world has viewed me as this like guy who definitely is stable, always going after it, traditional, full-heartedly traditional, and like, yo, like this guy he has this power to him that he can just go. And it's absolutely true. When you talk about it from the whole professional lens standpoint, like, yeah, I have this hunger, and it's just normal. It's normal for me. So like, I'm not saying that just because I'm a Capricorn rising that no one else is like this, that you got to be a Capricorn or something like that. Like, dude, I'm getting used to astrology through you, and I'm only learning it after a year. But I can tell you from my experience that I've always been a go-getter. I've always been paying attention to like, my family, my traditions, my integrity, my value, and in professional world, in my vocation as a trainer, as a brother, as as a son, as a friend, as a confidant. Like I always look to like sharpen these tools. So it's not even the corporate ladder in and of itself. It's just everything. Is every ladder. Like I have this improved mindset, progress mindset all the time. And it's always like, I want to always get better at sharpening my sword, at honing my skills. And like, yo, I've been told this, even though I'm not, I've been told I walk with a resting bitch face. But it's like, when you know me, like, dude, I'm always smiling. I'm always radiating.
I can attest to it. Like, your focus and I think it's more to do with your focus. Like you're an extremely focused individual. I've always seen mission. Exactly. I've always seen you very focused, and I feel like in that focused state, anybody outside of you, they'll just be like, it's either one or two things. I remember having this conversation with you a while ago. It's like either one or two things. They're either going to just fear you, point blank, period, or they're going to want to people please and try to somehow win your attention, win your affection. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of one of the two. They want to stay away because they're like, look, I don't know what's going on with him, but he's just a powerful something about him is powerful. And it's like the fear will rise. Or I realized the opposite end. People want to potentially just come towards you because they realize like, this is a man of status. This is a man of stature. Like whatever's going on with him, and this is as a Cap rising, it's like whatever he's doing, whatever he got going on, I want to be a part of it, which isn't always so pure. So I've seen both, but I kind of see how that covers the resting itch face. Thank y'all all for being here, hitting that thumbs up.
Thank you all. I appreciate you guys.
He said facts, no in between.
Facts, no in, man. I agree with him, but I'll tell you something. Orain, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, I get that. I get the facts, no in between, and that could sometimes be a detriment to the strong mindset. Like I was saying before, you always got to think about like you're always on all different directions all the time. So keeping your integrity and your moral value is absolutely important. I have absolute principles I live by that I would never ever change for nothing. Not even if the devil himself came on earth.
Give us two of those principles.
Absolute principles?
Because I'm imagining that give us at least 2 of your absolute principles. Because I'm imagining some of this plays into your mental health. I'm imagining some of this is
Yeah.
what keeps you strong and stable in certain environments where it's like, where the easiest thing to do is to break the principle. So what are some of these absolutes for you?
You know, man. Okay, one of the absolutes, balance for sure. But one of the absolutes for me is like, yo, be kind. Like, be a kind, honest human being. Don't. And when kindness is challenged, what's met with its polarity is like vengeance, maybe. Like, just because you got done dirty, or just because like something funky happened to you, it does not mean you got to do the whole an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. Chances are that like fighting fire with fire is never a good thing. Maybe you can fight fire with wind, not even water, with wind. And don't become vengeful. Like, I get it, man. I get that you can have such a resonating, like, deep revenge for something, but it's a two-way street where poison happens on both ends, and
Sure.
consequences happen no matter what you do or what you don't do. So being kind is very, very on point. Practicing that kindness, and also understanding like what is deserving of that, who is deserving of that, when
Right.
is needed
What?
the
Who?
most. So
Yeah.
powerful. You know, and I've had a lot of times in my world in business where you know, I've been done wrong, and I'm just like, all right, cool, like, you know, keep it moving, you know, just keep it moving. Like, you have to like not stoop down to a lower energy. And so that's one absolute principle of mine. Another absolute principle of mine is loyalty.
Sure.
Like, loyalty off of like crazy loyalty. Like, dude, my loyalty game, like, I have so much like principle within myself, and like with people, I just kind of think like I don't want that to be done to me. You know what I'm saying? So like,
Right. The golden rule.
yeah, it's a golden rule, and life is always challenging you. Loyalty is challenged when you have options on any scale, whether if it's love, whether if it's changing businesses, whether it's you know, family. So once again, I guess that whole Capricorn thing is like stability, right? Stability within yourself and morality, but at the same time, having an understanding that you can be pliable to some degree, where I know I'm tunnel vision, yo. I know I'm tunnel vision. I absolutely know that. That doesn't mean that I can't practice other skills.
Sure.
And I'm learning that myself. I was taught that, and I'm very, very grateful because I get to apply this in all relationships in my life. So it's also having that ability to listen to other people. Like, just because you're boss mode, boss man attitude, and you think you got it together with your absolute principles, it doesn't mean that everyone understands it. And at the same time, they may see it another way, and it doesn't mean that they're wrong for it. It just means that it's like, yo, like, I see it this way, and I need you to kind of speak that lingo with me so we can both be on par.
So I'm gonna move back up to this. Tell us about the mythology a little bit. The Capricorn mythology and how that might play into, you know, this workforce, this never-ending persevering drive that it's like, look, I gotta get it, I gotta secure it, you know, for the legacy, for the family, for the tradition. Tell us about this mythology.
Story time. Okay. So Capricorn, I really delve into this because I even thought I'm gonna get a tattoo of this because of how crazy this story pertained to me. And I think it's gonna pertain to anyone who's also interested in building a family and creating a family. So Capricorn, the original version is like a seagull, right? It's a goat with a tail. Yeah, story time, man. Yeah, let's see the comment there. So the seagull and Capricorn, it's its original form. It's interesting, right? It's like it's a combination of like earth and water, two very nurturing powers. That in and of itself is already explaining kind of like the polarities. You have earth, you have water, or earth and air. Just understand polarity, that you're always on multiple scales. So the seagull, the story is goes back in like Greek mythology, and Kronos is like the god of time. He's like the god of Saturn. He runs Saturn. And Saturn, to my understanding in astrology, is like time, discipline, organization. So Aquariuses are also like affected by that as well, right? You taught me that.
Sure.
So when I started diving deep into this, I'm like, this is crazy. Like, okay. So what's the story with the sea goat? And I forgot the name. The sea goat's name started with a P. If you type that in, Pythagorean, I forgot.
I know who you're talking about. I don't even know how to pronounce the name either. I forgot. I'm gonna look it up in the meanwhile though. Keep going.
Yeah. And so what happens is this. He has the Capricorn sea god also has some control of time. Not as much as Kronos. Kronos is his father, right? Kronos is the god of time. This guy's like he's a god of time, but just not the god of time. And he loves his family very much so.
Pan.
Pan.
It was Pan. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
That transformed to the half goat, half fish.
All right. So
Pan.
So what happens is that he loves his family. He creates family, but he's cursed. The goats, with their natural instinct, they're born in the water, right? But they keep running to the land. They keep running to the land, and so over time, what happens is they lose their fins, like their serpent-like body, their fish-like body, and they become a goat on all fours, right? Goat, greatest of all time, yeah. And so the goats get their own abilities on Earth, and so they just become earthly. And as they continue to become more earthly, put it in the context of the lenses that we live in now, where the societal matrix kind of changes you and try to like hardens you, not in a good way, in a way that's kind of like almost brainwashing and manipulative, right?
Sure.
So the goats kind of symbolize this in another fact that they lose their abilities, they lose their lineage of godhood, of their spirituality. So the sea god, the sea goat, he has the power to like revert back time and keep doing this over and over again. So he's all like, damn, man, my kids just aren't getting it. And that's like, it's that of a father, it's that of a mother, where it's like you want to be the best parent that you can. For me, it resonates very powerfully because I truly believe that if you want to change the world, you create strong, beautiful families, strong tribes with value and integrity. I really believe that. I really believe that families is what makes things happen. I really believe that having a team is what gets you to the next step in your life. And when you all have moral integrity, moral values, and you all literally have that same, like, okay, we're doing this because we're going to push forward for our loved ones, et cetera, like you're going to succeed. Absolutely. So 1 + 1 is better when it equals 11, right? Not 2.
Sure.
So
and in the meanwhile, I had typed like this polarity. I don't want to cut the story up. I just want people to know like this, that polarity of Earth kind of losing its abilities of the water, the Cancer, its intuition, its emotionality, its empathy.
Yeah.
This is that shadow that Capricorn is here to reintegrate, but also it was born with, like it started with that Cancerian imagination and ability to feel. So go ahead.
Well, right. Cancer, mother of the zodiac, Capricorn, father of the zodiac. And so then what happens is the goat is like, what's going on here, man? Like why does this keep happening? And he does everything in his power. He pleads to Kronos, like, listen, like make it so that they never go back to Earth again, and like to the land. And he does, the god, his father, doesn't allow that. He doesn't allow it. The god of time doesn't allow the sea goat god, his kids, to revert back to like being a full-blown sea goat. And what happens is finally as time passes, the sea goat himself, he dies, and what Kronos does to him is that he puts him in the highest mountain of all. Higher, it's all the way up in the sky, so that he can watch gracefully his kids, learn their lessons through life, because they have to, the story is that they have to become earthly so that they can become godly once again. And you stripping them of that experience is not going to lend to their growth. That was like the story. And so it's powerful on how you have to do everything in your power as a parent to make your kids the best that you possibly can. But at some point, they also live their own lives. So it's up to you as a parent to, like, your job is never done, but it's up to you in the life before to create those morals and principles. Because I always think that you should live your life as if your unborn kids are watching you. I recently started thinking this because it's all like genetic coding at the end of the day, right?
Sure.
It's fascinating to me. So that's the Capricorn mythology in short.
So when we apply this mythology into the modern day workspace, right? Like Pluto and Capricorn is getting ready to go retrograde back for I don't know how long, a couple months before it finishes in Aquarius. And it's like this transformation of all Capricorn themes, Capricorn people, Capricorn placements for all of us. They're going through a permanent shift. And I say that as a prerequisite to, okay, today's discussion is about mental health, as well as like, especially in the workspace, or the masculine drive to secure the resources, to do everything that Sima just said within this Greek mythological story behind Capricorn. So it's like, the key I wanted to say with that as a prerequisite is, how do you see in the workplace that story of parents trying to secure X, Y, and Z resources for their children? How does that play negatively on their mental health? And what are some practical outlets that we can do in this when that mental pressure adds up?
Pressure is a good thing. Don't be softer than lotion. Look, I love talking everything under the moon and the sun, but I'm also not for the faint of heart when it comes to certain advices. I'm very like you are the strongest person in your life mentality. I'm very about like understand why you're doing things and like don't play the victim card. When you ain't softer than lotion, man, for sure. Bars. Yeah, it's true, man. It's true because like what good is that gonna do? Especially if you're a parent. Let's say you're a single parent. You got a lot of hustle. You have to be everything. If you're a parent just in general, like your headspace is kind of like all your time is now developed into your kids. So you'll do almost anything in your workforce to provide, to protect, prepare, provide. I think that mythology, that the mythological process, that mythology, that story, it holds key because time is all that you really have. And so the way you manage your time, it really tells you how much where your attention is going, how much you really love life. Bruce Lee said that if you love time, then don't waste it. If you love life, don't waste time. He says something like that. And it's also interesting because when you hit certain level of successes, you have to understand that success also is more dangerous than failure. It means that once you become more successful, you have more things that you can fuck up. When you start at zero, when you start as quote unquote like a failure or rock bottom, you ain't got much else to mess up.
Can't go too much further down.
So, you have to go through this life understanding that like when you give time to something, you're also saying no to something. I want to be Hokage, not even
I like the Hokage comment. I really do.
We care so much and self-sabotage ourselves instead of studying self and allow self to learn from others in the same battle. I like that, man. Look, Hokage, you a leader, right? You're a leader of your own life. Becoming a leader isn't easy. Doing the path of a leader, the higher the risk, the higher the reward. And but
also for the village. And that's what because it's like yeah, you become a leader for yourself, you understand yourself, but it's only to contribute to the village.
Well, that's what happens, right? With Cap energy, with masculine energy, you make it to the top, and you have to understand that like once you're the leader, everything that you do at this stage in the game is watched by everybody, and not everyone's going to agree with it. But you're the leader because you have the strongest will to make the toughest decisions. And sometimes you got to cut out the sheep, because if certain sheep are going to destroy that village, you got to go.
Right. No. So what you said is that's been one of the most critical things. Even if I think about it on my own mental health journey, it's like just practicing practicing being kind in the process of still needing to cut people out. It's like to be able to do it without burning them and everything around them, right? but, and also including myself, but being able to just, so I have one of these, like one of my incarnations back in human design is literally the cross of limitation. And I find this, it really plays on my own mental health. It really, really does. And all it really says is I have to be willing to put limits on things, people, substance, learnings, whatever it is, okay? Projections on me, whatever it is. But to put the limit on it is not enough. I have to inform the person of why I'm putting a limit on them. And in the meanwhile, it creates a lot of, at bare minimum, up front, in the beginning, it creates a lot of animosity, because it's like by putting a limit, okay, structure, Saturn, by putting a limit on something or someone who may not be willing to see that limit day one, it's like, it's kind of like that Hokage role again. It's like, I have to be willing to embrace that. Look, it may be 7 years before this person understands what that limit was about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can't really attach to what the response is today. And I found that when I decide to not put that limit, or say something but not tell them why, which is probably more likely the consistent one that I had to like really address over the last couple of years, to say something, to say it, to announce what the limit is, what the restriction is, what the limitation is, but then to not announce the why. One, I realized, if you think of Hokage, I'm not supporting the collective karma. And it's this understanding of like, karma is not individual. Like, what I do doesn't only impact me or my kid. It impacts everybody on this live. It impacts everybody who won't watch this live. Karma is a very collective thing. And when I started understanding that karma is not individual, it started making sense of, well, now putting these limits and clarifying why, especially with the people who are involved or not involved, because it's like you said with the sheep, right? It's like how that would negatively impact my mental health and the mental health of the people in the village is like, look, this sheep is poisonous. You kind of said it earlier, poison is two-way. It's a tube. You know, you pour it in one side, it's going to poison what's on the other side. So I wanted to kind of just like clarify that for people, because I found that it's not just even about my mental health. It's like, if I look at myself as the masculine energy cutting through, piercing through, leading, right? It's like, well, I have to be willing to lead in authenticity, literally in integrity.
Yeah.
Especially when I see the sheep who is, or whatever, the sheep, the snake, call it what you want, who is negatively influencing the rest of the tribe. And it's like to be able to put the stop on it, but also to clarify the limit, to clarify the restriction, to clarify why.
Yeah. And in that clarification, in the way you're gonna do your smiting, your how you're gonna fix this, there's a certain swag, there's a certain style in which you have to do it with like really cool, precise accuracy. Like how you win is important. You know what I mean? You can win.
So
how you win is important. Don't
important.
you know, like in those video games, man, like, you know, when you got it and you just like overkilling a person, it's like, dude, chill, you won already. Like, goddamn, like, relax.
Or that movie where the guy just keeps shooting and it's like, bro, he dead.
or they just hit you with this ultimate limit breaker combo or whatever it is, and you're just like, yo, what the fuck did I get myself into?
Like, yo, he dead.
He dead, yo. You won. Like
you
chill.
Got it. Chill, yeah. How you win matters. How you win matters. Because, but why?
You know why? Because people are watching. Because
exactly.
People will also be like, yo, I'm glad he did what he did, but what happens if I'm next? What happens if sheesh? Maybe I find that inspirational. But I do it in a way that's not even at that level, and I make it look horrible. Like, you know, there's always those things happening. So, yeah, how you win, how you serve the dish. You can make the best 5-star dish ever on a poo-poo trash platter. You know what I'm saying? And if it ain't on point, who's gonna eat it?
Right. You know, you made me think about this. Don't earn trust by fear, right? We've never seen that work out well for anybody. You know, don't earn respect by fear. You can keep changing the word, trust, respect. Don't earn any of that by fear, by somebody fearing what will happen if I cross this line. that's not sustainable, and
Mm-hmm.
eventually you'll topple over.
I agree.
Whether it's the people coming together to topple you over, or whether it's your own arrogance. So do be mindful of that. Yo, so this was a personal favorite. I got a number 2 for you.
Yeah. Go
How does
ahead.
becoming a plant daddy support your mental health and intuition? You see, I
How
had to bring the plant closer today. I was like, I got them all over the crib now.
about the snake plant? I am not the best plant papa, but that doesn't.
But you've been getting there.
I've
It's the
been
progress.
I've been doing what I'm doing. Hold on, bro. I got an aloe vera plant over there. So okay, this is pretty good.
So this is even better.
Right.
This is even better. This is
Uh-huh.
even better that at least that in the moment you're considering yourself not the best plant dad in the
Yeah,
moment.
yeah. I'm not.
Which means, only a couple months ago, I don't know when. I think you started buying your first plant a couple months ago.
I bought my first plant a couple of years ago.
All right, but like really like the rebirth, like when you came back, right?
Yeah,
Not the first
yeah.
one you brought, but the one when you like, all right, look, I'm becoming a plant dad.
Absolutely,
Right?
absolutely.
At that stage. So this
Yeah,
this
we're
is
talking
good.
like 3-5 months ago or so. Something
Okay,
like
so from 3
Yeah.
5 months ago, how has your mental health shifted from then to now since you bought plants?
Well, it's nice to look at it, man. Like you just look at this green thing in your house. You know what I mean? It's just nice. It's like just that in and of itself, its presence already kind of brings a nice smile to your face.
Absolutely.
The understanding that this plant is needs you, because it's in my home, right? To survive, you have to like care for it. It's like a pet, right? It's like a living, breathing pet. And look, man, these things talk. They absolutely talk through mycelium, through spirit, through energy, and it's just like my intuition and my mental health with that is just like sharpening things. Plants are absolutely life. It's just sharpening things. But unfortunately, intuitive wisdom, my plants have died a lot. And I
Yeah.
understand that is not the best thing to be giving off. But I've also learned that these things die. And because they die is because your time and attention was not given to it.
Boom. Boom.
That's what's important.
And this is the comment. I saw this somewhere, so this is not my quote. I saw this in a book I was reading or something like that. And somebody, or an interview maybe, somebody was saying that plants have become the children by choice. In the millennial age, it's like millennials are not having children anymore. They're like, look, it used to be grow up, have a job, kids, whatever, and then essentially kids, right? And it kind of stopped right there. It's like have kids and give them everything you got. And the world sped up, and think the world became more expensive. Resources are not as readily available. People begin to be afraid to raise a child in this world. And there's so many other reasons, right? But point being, I realized that statement was very true, that plants have become the children of millennials. And it's like, part of it is because the responsibility is not as great as a child, right? Like having a child is like, that's a child. I mean,
This is a life.
it's a whole human life. You know what I mean? It's like, and so this is like an intermediate step to, being able to provide for a life form, right?
We also got to stop. I'm just saying but like some people got to also understand like it's a really nice thing to take care of something.
Right.
And interestingly enough, what I've understood is that this plant, his was powerful. The understanding, it just literally just hit me like right now. It lives in my home. It's in these walls. This is why it dies, though. You get it? Apart from me not giving attention, it's not in its natural state. Sure. And what I want to give by that is that when something isn't like in its natural state, kind of living in accordance with like life and nature and like human interactions and things of that nature, you get stunted people, you get stunted growth. So it's the same thing with us. Like just like we started off with fitness, right? Half the time when I meet people nowadays, it's not even like training to look good naked. It's like, yo, my body's jacked from sitting so much and my posture's horrible. Well, that's because we're not supposed to be living 16 hours on a chair.
Sure.
So it's like when you make that comparison of like how a plant isn't living in its natural habitat and a human isn't living in natural accordance with its body, bad shit happens. Bad shit happens.
So right now, what I'm hearing when it comes back to the mental health piece, it's like plants are reminding us they're a constant reminder to return to our natural habitat. For starters, for one.
Without
right?
it, you're dead. No, there's no O2. There's no good, clean O2. You know? You get a wooden sword before you get a real sword. We got to practice before we have children. Taking home the egg from school. I like that, man. Yeah, I like that.
Oh man, I just got booted for my own lines.
It's all good. I think I held it down a little bit, man.
Yeah. So if I spoke about it for myself, like when I think I really started taking care of plants maybe about 2 years ago, and it was the same thing. Like in the beginning, it was very hard to keep the plants alive. I'm not gonna stunt. Like it was hard. I was doing it in Spanish speaking countries. So when I would try to get the directions of how to take care of this specific plant,
Yeah.
I was only getting like 35% of the message.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I was missing like, oh, you might need the fertilizer once a month. I was missing, oh, this one needs, a lot of sunlight versus a little sunlight, or it needs 3/4 of water. And I'm like, oh man, like we don't even have the same measurements, like we don't even measure water the same way, like kilograms versus pounds.
Don't drown it.
Right. Don't drown the plant. So it was hard for me so key word, what I'm saying is like, when I first got plants, I didn't know how to take care of them. And I couldn't understand the language well enough to be able to try to write the directions down, right? Mm-hmm. And so in the beginning, it was just a struggle. Mm-hmm. But what it was revealing to me was how much I wasn't watering my own internal garden, mm-hmm. how much I was just putting, an external workforce out there, just going to secure certain material needs, at least what felt like a need at the time, certain material securities, right? A lot of Saturnian type stuff. And what I was doing was a lot of that energy was outwardly projected. Yeah. And I realized that I wasn't taking care of my inner garden, which is what we're talking today with the mental health. And I just started kind of recognizing, this is like about 2 years ago, and I've had plants pretty much since then. And I realized that, now I'm looking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's at least 8 in my house at the moment. And I'm telling you this, like I was struggling with this with one plant in the beginning. And I just started adding, it's kind of like this guy said here, Rain, the wooden sword. Yeah. When I started over, I tried to just focus on one plant. And I was like, look, until I can secure this one plant and keep it alive, mm-hmm. I'm not going to buy another one. I'm going to try this one plant. Yeah. But it kind of goes back to what you were saying, and it helped me understand my own internal world and my own mental health as well. What you said earlier, like that they're not in their natural habitat. And I started realizing, part of it had nothing to do with how much water I was giving it or any of that. It was just about some of the plants. Like I had one plant, she was just moody as hell. And she needed to be touched every day. And as long as she was touched every day, she literally didn't need anything else. But then when I had got 2 more plants, she didn't get touched anymore. She hit the point where she gave me a couple warnings. I tried to keep up with it, but life was like, I was like, man, there's 3 plants at the time. And it was hard to keep up. And eventually, when she decided to die, she always used to come back to life. She was an easy plant to come back to life, but she said, no, I gave you all your warnings. I'm dying for good. She's like, I'm dying for good. And what it kind of revealed to me was, it's like that I myself on an internal, like I need to touch myself, right? And I'm not talking about in some sexual masturbation manner. I'm talking about I need to touch myself internally. I need to get in tune with myself consistently, daily, all the time. And during that time frame, life sped up. And she revealed to me, it was like this is how they communicate. They're so loving. She's like, look, I'm going to offer my life so that you forever learn this lesson, Pernell. Absolutely. To continue to internally water your own garden, because you cannot support anyone else outside of you. You can't add more resources. You can't add more, have more, do more until you stabilize here. Yeah. And then the abundance will come. And so this is one of the ways that look, she got to pick up the kids now. It's one of the ways that plants really help support me. Just one way. And it honestly, it just keeps going on and on and on at this point.
I hear that, man.
I put my plants on my partner's side of the room. and they were so full. Wow, look at that. Yeah, that's another thing, they lean towards life. I've realized this, like plants, the longer you have them, you start realizing they will lean towards the sun sometimes. And I realized I had to start turning the plants, right? That's just one thing. And it was just teaching me like how much I need sun, right? Where it's like today, for example, I got sunshine, and I recommend this for anybody on my genitals. I went and put sunshine on the genitals for at least 10 minutes. Then I put some the early sun before it got way too hot, and I put some on my third eye and my forehead. And I let myself soak in the sun without moving, without being on my cell phone, without talking to anybody else. Honestly, just in silence, just sunbathing. Not tanning, because I'm not tanning. I'm not gonna lie to you, but just sun charging, I want to say. And again, the plants, they kind of start showing me like when they lean, they let you know, like, yo, this person is not good. I remember one time, like a year ago, I had somebody enter my room and it was like the plant like died. And it's like, what? But it's like that energy was bad. And it was like, look, no more. Get that energy out of here. And it's like, I realized how well they play a role, not just in my mental health from seeing green. And you remember the story when I was in Thailand? Remember the story when I was in Thailand? When
There's
I
a
went
lot
to
of
the
stuff.
I went to the doctor. I couldn't stop the migraines and the whole nine.
Nah, I don't think I heard this one, man.
No. Long story short, like I hate the hospital with a passion.
Yeah, yeah,
I
of
don't.
course. You know
I
that.
just don't ever go to the hospital. I hate it. But I started getting worried. I was like, "Yo, look, like it's been weeks. Like this migraine is not going anywhere." And I was playing basketball. Then I did get hit in the head, and I was thinking, maybe this concussion
I got
is
you. Yeah, I
a
remember.
little bit worse than I thought it was. Right? I was like, maybe I got hit harder than I thought. Maybe something's really loose in there. And I went to the doctor, and literally within 5 to 10 minutes, she just told me, "Here's your prescription. Every 30 minutes, close your computer." And she said, buy a plant and at least stare at the plant for at least 10 minutes in between working on the computer. Make sure you get up and just look at green. And she
Very
said,
not westernized.
very not westernized. She was like, the mind needs to see visually green. When it does, the mind calms down. So just literally looking at something green allows you to open up your heart. Okay, heart chakra is green, and it allows you to let your heart take you out of your mind. Literally, it just takes you out of your mind and push you into your heart. And when you do that, it's kind of like Simon said earlier with the plants. I then begin to rearrange my schedule. I begin to rearrange my routine, rearrange my life, rearrange what I do, when I do it, how often I do it, how often I don't do it. And I noticed the mental health improved drastically. Let me see what we got. Let me
Hmm.
see what we got on the next question. Yo, what herbal remedies do you recommend for people in the mental health space? Like when it comes to any herbal remedies. I know you got all kinds of herbal remedies. Or is this the time when you're pulling those cards out?
The question is, what herbal remedies?
So for somebody that feels like anybody watching this on replay, thank you for hitting the thumbs up. What herbal remedies do you recommend for people?
I like Blue Lotus, man.
The Andamamunde. Let me make you a little bit bigger.
The
Show them
flower,
again.
the flower of intuition. You know,
So what
that's
is Blue Lotus and how do you use it?
You could smoke it. You can put it in tea. You can brew it. If you're gonna smoke it, use like the most organic, clean wrap that you can find. Personally, I like this one. It's called King Palm.
Mm-hmm. What's that
Literally,
made out of?
literally a
Palm
tree.
trees.
It's a tree from Southeast Asia. Literally,
Yeah.
you're smoking flower with flower to some degree.
I
You know.
I actually seen king palms in Southeast Asia,
Yeah, yeah, man.
but I wanted to hear you say it for the people so that they can like connect the dots. What
I
about
noticed, man.
have you ever sprinkled lavender in there?
I haven't, but I know lavender is good for calming your body, so I know that for sure. Purple, right? Third eye, crown chakra.
Exactly.
Um, hmm?
No, I'm agreeing.
Yeah, yeah, man. So Blue Lotus on point. Preferably before going to bed helps with like lucid dreaming. And one of the things that I've always done with Blue Lotus is that before using it and using it, you kind of just like in your mind, or vocally you speak like what you want to dream, or you have a focus on something, and you'll end up finding like damn, you actually dreamt that, and that dream feels super super strong. It's also helps with reducing cortisol, so it's good for stress. Like after you trained, or maybe you just felt like you literally just had a horrible shitty day, it could probably help you. It does not give you that feeling that weed does in the slightest. So yeah, it's not like weed, folks. It's not even like CBD. It's its own life,
It's much softer. I've realized that it's much softer. It's very subtle. Like, you might not even really notice how calm you become.
You be chilled, man. I like it. Chamomile goes good with it too. You really want a nice sleep. Chamomile is
Chamomile's a
fantastic.
good one. I'm
Love
gonna track
chamomile.
that down. You know which one you put me on, and I have not had it ever since, man. But I noticed a drastic difference, and I feel like I need to get it again. I'm gonna type it here, and maybe you could tell us what the benefits were.
I knew it was Lions Mane. I knew it was Lions.
Yeah.
I was like, I know it was Lions Mane.
Uh-huh.
Man, I got into like the basic mushroom stuff years ago. And I just mean basic because I only knew like 5 or like 6 mushrooms. But lion's mane is just like a cheat code of life. It really sharpens you. It's like it's like it keeps you alert. It keeps you active without the crash, so to say, of like what normal caffeine would do to you.
Sure.
The clarity that lion's mane gives you. Remember I was talking about like that tunnel focus thing?
Uh-huh.
I'm already like that. So for someone like who does lion's mane and like quadriceps mushroom also, I mean, it's like you do a times 10 level up. But apart from that, yes, enhanced memory, enhanced alertness. I like it for other things too, like just like cleanliness of the body. Like I feel as though my organs are lifting weights. It's interesting when you do that with mushrooms, and now even more so because I've been consuming mushrooms a hell of a lot more, like actually like eating them now, other than just like taking it like in powder form or trying to make coffee off of it. Dude, amazing, man. Gives you a whole bunch of nutrients, packed with protein, packed with vitamins and minerals. It's on point.
Super dope. So, again, when we talk mental health wise, that will be a tremendous supplement to switch out for coffee, like he just said. Anybody that is looking to kick a coffee kick, because I mean, coffee keeps you in a high alert state. It does increase cortisol, and this is the bad stress, right?
It don't dehydrate you though, like coffee, lion's mane. No mushroom.
Dehydration, another bad mental health piece.
No mushroom that I've come across, be it reishi, turkey tail, lion's mane, cordyceps, none of that stuff has ever dehydrated me. Coffee definitely does dehydrate. They always say hydrate before you caffeinate. There's another cool thing too with mushrooms that I know is going to be like nuts, but like I've used it many times with clients who have had like certain problems with like nerve damage. I'm one for myself that has definitely had great experience with it. Now, mushrooms definitely can help you repair neurological pathways in your brain that were already damaged. In pure old English, it's literally just saying like if your brain had trouble firing a muscle, maybe you just literally could not flex anymore. And of course, you do your rehab and your physical therapy and other things. What I'm saying is that if you add mushrooms into that picture, you definitely you create another gateway to neurological patterns and pathways. So given an opportunity and you still have a healthy, fresh brain, you can absolutely repair certain, things that have been damaged.
Are you familiar with, have you ever heard the mushroom theory of how everything in the world is mushrooms?
Hey man, look, I saw a documentary about mushrooms like maybe last month, and like they're like the oldest thing known to man, right? Since the age of the dinosaurs. There was even the theory that Jesus was a mushroom. You type that up on YouTube, it was crazy. It's crazy.
Bro, trees, all the trees, these big grand trees that we see in the redwoods forest in California, or any ancient forest, quite frankly, all mushrooms. And the science will back it. And the reason I make that as an announcement before what I say next is how, considering all of us were mushrooms, trees, plants, everything in existence. Literally, it's like, oh, he got it right here. He got it right here.
Yeah.
It's
how they
like
talk to each other.
this is exactly the communication of the neural pathway. This is why when we consume mushrooms, we just do better. And understand when I say this for anybody watching, I'm not talking about psychedelics. Okay, I'm talking about mushrooms, like all different kinds of mushrooms. Cordyceps, like you said, lion's mane is another one. Reishi mushrooms used in ancient Chinese medicine cure just about anything. Fungus, the whole nine. You know,
Reishi, like the mushroom of immortality.
The lion's mane is a type of enhancement drug.
The word drug already throws it all off, my friend. I wouldn't.
Put them on game.
Drug.
Put them on game.
Is water a drug? Is like steak a drug? Just because it's a mushroom doesn't mean that it's a drug, right? Because we're kind of thinking, is everything in nature a drug? If you think about it from a perspective, everything in nature and human design in and of itself, to understand, to master spirituality, you got to understand science, right? So everything that's a drug, that's a real drug like cocaine or something like that, or methamphetamine or blah, 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 is derivative from an actual like plant. And then an overdosage of what the human body can handle is what makes it, quote unquote, the drug. Or what gets you in another like crazy state of mind. Yeah, Shaga is king also, by the way. Shaga's good.
I like Shaga. I have not had it in a long time. Yeah, making me need to go re-up at the store, bro. I'm like, I need to go get some. I need to go re-up.
Shaga's on point, man. It's allergy season for people. If you got allergies, man, get that Shaga in your system.
Another reason, because it just changed over here, so it really might be time. I'm moved to the number 3. When we talk like divine masculine energy, right? From our grandparents and even older, okay, to the modern male, it's like, what is the shift? How would you define the energy from what it was, grandparents, and how we're moving as those next generations?
It's different. The life that we live now is not the same life as before. People have access to media. People can talk like this, what they're doing. It's so different. The tools back then are very useful, but like you have to understand that like the problems are much more enhanced or much more potent, so to speak. We're dealing with so many things on so many different levels. The mere fact that you and I right now are tying in mushrooms, astrology, grounding of reality, and all these things is already huge and progressive in and of itself. Grandparents back in the days probably would have just stuck to just saying religion. God is God, devil is the devil, etc., etc. And that was probably the only lens that they could view things through. Maybe.
And what about the non-religious man?
The non-religious man is there too, right? You know, everything is involved. But like masculine energy, we're being specific about masculine energy. So like,
I'll keep talking. I'm just.
Oh, the lines. Yeah. I was like, huh? Okay. I'll pull out the Lion's Mane card for you. Go show them the deck that I got. Lion's Mane. I'm sorry, not Lion's Mane. Masculine energy. Back then was kind of like, you know, you're the man of the house and you got to do this, that, and the third. You know, you are the classic protector, provider kind of thing. And I'm trying to look for the cards right now for Lion's Mane. It's a really cool design. But overall, in general, staying on track. While I believe that a lot of what I just said still holds merit, I also believe at the same time that the higher understandings that we have now guide us in becoming a better masculine man, a much more understanding masculine man. And back then, maybe perhaps the idea of even this talk alone would be downplayed or neglected. But like I said before, those were problems and scenarios of the past. You're here now. So what can you do now? The past is a great tool to use as a reference for learning and to understand yourself, but you're not living there anymore. While things can surface up, you can use those things that surface up to better yourself. And that's what I'm trying to say about masculine energy today. Masculine energy doesn't have to stay stuck.
Sure.
In a very rigid way. You don't have to be your parents.
Right.
You don't have to identify either of the scars of time. You know, we have way more freedom now than we ever did way back in the days. So like masculine energy back then was very different. People were probably enslaved. People had more things to deal with like racism, colorism, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not saying I'm not saying those things are completely eliminated, but what I'm saying is that you're walking in the street. It's not such a focal point, you know. But
it's not the only focal.
It ain't the only focal. It's not. I can't.
That's a really good point. That actually is a really, really good point. You know, when I look at it.
Tell me that. Look at that. Hey, Libra scales, by the way, for Orion.
It is beautiful. It is beautiful. I love that it's lion's mane.
And his leadership too.
I love that it's lion's mane. Yeah. I'm gonna take a moment to read this card because a lot of things you said plays right into it. But I am gonna need to read this one for us as well. All right. I feel like this needs to actually happen first before we can recognize this. Have you ever seen a bat in real life?
I've seen a bat, man, and I understand why the term "you're batshit crazy" is a real thing.
They do move wild. They do move wild. Yo, when I first got to Thailand, I remember I used to hear these noises in the street at nighttime, and you know, you think you're looking at birds, but then something was just not okay. It was like because they moved in such an unorthodox pattern. Like it's like this is not a bird, but I didn't guess a bat. You know, I'm thinking bats are only in caves, right? Like that's my thought. I'm like, this is a street. Like I'm in the middle of the street. But it also shows you how old the place was and how untainted a lot of the nature was, right? Because they're like, yo, look, you're in our home and we know it. And so let me take a moment to read this. But they make really weird noises. I don't even know how to explain it.
Screech.
Yeah. All right, here we go. I got it right here. So this bat is an air element, and this will kind of lead us into what happens next. All right. So this represents darkness, letting go, and death leading to rebirth. And I was going through this all day for the last couple of days, having my own death. To be honest, this live is the first word I've really said in days. I have not been trying to talk at all, and I haven't. Before emerging, the bat waits for the sun to set and the moon to rise. In the darkness, it can see all that was invisible in the daylight hours. The bat is a master of the subtle senses, of the underlying forces that cause some things to prosper and others to fade. The bat card shows up to signify the ending of a chapter, the closing of a door. The bat comes swiftly, encouraging us to move on. In just a few hours, a new day will dawn. No more lingering in the past. And it says that it's out of balance when we refuse to let go or we're reminiscing. And so I caught myself today, like, you know, Google Photos be catching me. I mean, I got mad Cancer energy in me. Let's just be honest. And today I found myself having to delete, and I do this. This happens every so often. I found myself having to delete from Google Photos. I'm talking 6 years ago, 7 years ago, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, God knows what, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, at least like another 130 photos. And I think the last time before that was like 900 and something. So key thing is, I say that where a lot of this happened in my silence, where that reminiscing, it wasn't even happening anymore. It was like, let go.
Yeah.
It's like there's no need to let Google keep reminding you of these photos, because it would literally keep me right there in the past. So this is the part. If you're out of balance, you're in this reminiscent state, right? This is a lot of Cancerian energy. Now, when you're in balance, you accept, you adapt, and you adjust. And today is the second quarter moon in Leo. And that's exactly what the second quarter moon suggests before this eclipse comes in May 5th. It suggests that we adapt, that we realize that this is the time to look at our new moon manifestations and make changes for everything that's blocking, everything that doesn't belong, that's going to stop the illumination. All right. And so it says, to bring it to balance, and this is what's funny, it says, watch the sunrise. Now I watched the sunrise this morning, and I did not know that I didn't remember at least that's what this card said, because I had this card before the sunrise, but I didn't remember. And so, and I told you earlier, I got the sun on the genitals, I got the sun in the third eye.
You got sun kissed.
Boom.
For those wondering, by the way, you could study heliotherapy. Heliotherapy is like the study of how the sun heals, like how you use the sun to cure and stuff like that.
I never knew it was called heliotherapy, but I know that I do it and it works.
Helio from Greek mythology.
Yeah.
Sun god type of thing, fire and stuff like that. But yeah, man.
Here I'm a read. I feel like when let's say we all are in tune with the back, right? And before I give it back to Simit, because he has some other cards he pulled for y'all, I'm gonna bring it here. The lion is what I really feel like comes after. So we're moving from air element of the bat to the fire element, right? It's patient, it's regal, and it's a complete master.
Mm-hmm.
The lion is a master of the fire element and the living mascot of self-transformation. Leo. A lion personality dedicates their life to personal and spiritual growth. Again, Leo. This is the exaltation of Leo and Neptune.
We got Leo lover up in here. I see that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, look at that. That's funny.
Uh-huh.
This dedication inspires some, you said this, and intimidates others. You said this. Therefore, the lion is respected by all, but known intimately by few.
Yeah, man.
We spoke on that earlier. Here, hold that thought, and then speak it right out after this.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I got you.
Some mistake the lion as hard to access. Capricorn rising. Or aloof. Yet those with a keener eye know better. Lions are observant, stealth, and precise in their words and actions. They do not waste energy or resources. This card reminds us that self-mastery is available to all, no matter where the quest begins. If you're out of balance, you're feeling withdrawn and too serious. And I'm not even going to stunt. Earlier today, I was withdrawn. Even from last night, I was a little withdrawn. And I started recognizing, I was like, P, okay, reflection is cool, but be mindful of when you get too serious. And I literally, I'm telling you that happened.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in balance, you are the epitome of peace and strength. To bring into balance, daily meditation, Neptune, and friendship, Leo again. So I felt like those two cards needed to just be spoken today on this full message. But Simit, what came to your mind while we were talking?
It's just funny with the whole like you said the lion known intimately, but like
by
known
few. Yeah, known intimately by few.
Yeah,
but respected by all.
Right. And that's absolutely how I maneuver, and I've recognized that, and you know, it's good. I know that I am the way that I am, but I've also I also understand that like having others around you, like those intimate ones, the ones that you can trust in a circle, they absolutely help you in self-mastery. Self-mastery, I think maybe it's just mastery. I really believe that you do need others for mastery in and of itself. While mastering yourself is on point, that's only one viewpoint. There's only one person. You know what I mean? You can absolutely know yourself, which is cool. You're tested and you know more of yourself when others are involved, especially those whose opinions you deem worthy.
Sure.
And that's how I operate to a degree. Like, I don't really listen to everybody. I'll just be straight up. I listen to those that I really have in the yeah, I'll be straight up, man.
It's true. I don't listen to everybody either.
I really hold and honor and respect those that are in my intimate circle. And it's not saying that like I think I'm gonna be better than someone else. It's more like I'm gonna resort to the people who have known me for a longer time. You know,
I want to take a pause because something just hit me. I feel like I do listen to everybody, I don't respect everything that everybody says.
It's
I
just
don't.
also what you apply to. Like you can
Yeah,
listen,
yeah.
you know, like it's up to you.
Yeah, I
It's up
think
to
that's more what it's about. Like listening, yeah. Acting on what they say, no.
There's another ballpark. There's a whole other
Yeah,
ballpark.
no.
I resent Leo folks dealing with one who is narcissist and egotistical. Doo-doo head.
I saw this, and this is how I had to put the response back out. It's like,
dude. Hey man, ain't that funny?
it's such a loaded question because it's one of these things where I had this conversation about Virgos. And I'm not gonna get too far off on this because that's not today's talk. But I had the same conversation about Virgo. It's like there's no Virgo in the sky, just like there's no Leo in the sky. Like none of these major planets have. If you look at the major planets right now, what do we get? We have Pluto in Cap. Okay, it's about to finish. We have Pluto in Aquarius. Okay, cool. Right? We have Neptune in Pisces. Okay. Uranus is in Taurus. Okay. Jupiter, where is it? It's in Aries right now. You understand my point? None of these major bodies have Leo, Virgo, and all those other signs. And so what I'm saying is as a collective, we're not being directed to engage with those Leo energies yet. Which to elaborate on that, no one really understands that's alive today what it means to be a real Leo or what a real Leo is, including Leos. A lot of times they don't fully recognize themselves.
I'll say also just as simplistic as possible. Like, and this is a funny joke I share with my brother about like Geminis. I'm like, yo, anybody, you know, the whole thing is, oh, Geminis are two-faced or whatever it is. I'm like, yo, as soon as someone says that, they don't understand.
You don't understand Gemini.
They don't understand astrology, right? Because like you're never just one thing. You have, I don't know, what, 12, 24 different placements.
That's a whole other aspect.
You know what I'm saying? So like, and even if you're not into astrology, like at the same exact time, like immediately putting someone in that box and getting them from there. And I understand people got experiences. I get it. But I think having your ears open and giving other people a chance, people will always reveal themselves. So allow that process.
That's the key. These are internal projections projected outward. And it's like that exact statement about the Gemini, that's somebody saying they don't understand themselves. Or they think they're two-faced themselves.
But they're just influenced by other people who don't know shit. You can be cool. I won't
that
be cool.
Too.
Motherfuckers
that too.
Sometimes just don't know.
That too. But hear that, right? What did we just say about the lion? What did we say? It's like it's a quote unquote complete master. And so the thing about that is if someone understood themselves, you can't really be influenced by someone else to the degree where you then negatively comment about something or someone else outside of you.
Yeah.
Because you realize that it's not necessary.
It's all good, K-O-O-doo-doo. I understand.
Oh, yeah, none of this is personal.
Nah,
I wasn't even looking at it. I'm beginning to understand what both of you are saying. Using that analogy. Okay. Yeah, none of this is personal. I don't think anybody thinks I'm taking any of this personal or trying to attack anybody. It's just one of those things where, like, I always want to remind people, there's a lot of what Simi just said. It's like, I mean, to say any one thing all-encompassing over any zodiac is always going to be incomplete, in my personal opinion. It's always going to be incomplete.
Yeah. So go with
not that is wrong, not that is right, just simply incomplete. Where it's like when the complete picture forms, you know, I used to think for myself, for example, I was like, man, I would never date another Scorpio. I used to think that. And what I didn't realize, at the time, I had no idea that I was a Scorpio rising. So what was I really saying? And this is the key. Like, what was I really saying? Like, I was rejecting all Scorpionic things about myself. Not even knowing. Had no idea. And I realized later when I said that, I was rejecting all Scorpionic things in myself. So I'm not saying that that's the same thing in this Leo situation. But what I'm saying, like, from my personal experience, that was one of the things that really hit me in the jaw. I chased an Aquarius almost for years in my life. And little did I know on the unconscious side that I have an Aquarius moon and a Venus in Aquarius. When it really came down to it, I was like, I didn't really want that person. I wanted myself. I craved myself so deeply. I craved to know myself so deeply as an Aqua moon, as an Aqua Venus. When all I really knew is that my moon is in Aries. My Venus is in Gemini. That has nothing to do with Aquarius. So all of this is so complex, right? Just when we get in tune with our first natal chart, it's all cool and dandy. It's great. It's like, wow, all these revelations, but it's a basis to start to understand, yo, you have like 15 charts, and yes, they are all active at the same time. It doesn't matter if you decide, anybody personally, myself included, that I only want this natal chart to be true. No, they're
The work,
always simultaneously activated. And that's how complicated we are as a consciousness.
the work is never done. The work is never done.
So what we got for I think we answered number 3, really the whole, from the later days to the earlier days. Do you have any conclusion messages you want to say about this particular comment?
The particular comment of
Right here.
Yeah. How would you define masculine? The way I would define masculine energy from grandparents' era into the shift today, it's not the same.
Nowhere close.
It's not the same. However, like I said before, you view the past as like a resume, as like a history in which you can learn, see how the past can help you recognize certain patterns within your family, maybe family curses, hexes, patterns within mother, father, brothers, siblings, social circles, and use that as a tool as best as you humanly can to generate your own, not generate, but to amplify your energy,
Mm-hmm.
Amplify your energy now, because like I said, everything is different now. We have a different set of problems, a different set of tools, a different pace on how you ingest education.
Pace. I think pace is one of the major developments when it comes to divine masculine energy. Pace. Right? Like I feel like in generations that came before us, life and even the trauma they faced created. I recently saw something about how, it's also a trauma response to always be going fast and to speed up, especially in times of uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the clearest things I can ever tell you about the divine masculine energy is it operates consistently in uncertainty, literally not knowing what happens next, yet still being stable and sound in the not knowing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because it's like, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's just funny because the other day I was just like sometimes, you know what, you may not even know how to do something, but like you'll go do it anyways. And part of that man energy, I think, is because we want to be problem solvers. We think things logistically, and at the same exact time, we understand to a certain honor and code of like duty that it's like shit. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I know I got to get things done, and I know that something has to be created. I got to go do something. I got to like fix this problem, or I got to run into the burning building because I can, or whatever the case may be. Like, I think within all of us, there's this sense of like ethics of code where like you can see something, you don't even got to talk. You just know this is bad, this is good. And like you have a dutiful sense. And one thing back in the day, my bad, it's just that one thing back in the days also, depending how far we go back, masculine energy, when you're becoming a man, they always had a trial and a tribulation to go through, whether it's to go kill a wolf and come back, or whether you were thrown in a jungle. We don't really have that. And I think that it's important to implement that type of trial from a physical sense and as well as a mental sense,
Yeah.
I think that's important. Don't forget.
I wanna, and I heard everything you said.
Mm-hmm.
I want to elaborate on the pace.
Yeah, pace.
And the lion jungle thing was a perfect leadway in. Thank you for hitting that thumbs up. I see you. I appreciate y'all, everybody, for hitting the thumbs up. Check the description for Simmit's bio, his website, his page, if you want to get more in tune. Pace. When I think masculine energy, pace, it matters. If we're going far back, right, before our grandparents, but far back, to the point where certain cultures and civilizations would send you into a jungle to kill the lion, and until you do, you don't become a man, right? I know this happens in the Maasai tribe, for example, in Ethiopia and a couple other countries. Well, when you live in civilizations like that, for starters, you're not living in a technology-rich society, which means the world is not moving so fast. So when you go back that far, the masculine energy was always in the unknown, always in the dark. He couldn't research his answers. So what happened? His pace was much slower.
Yep.
His pace was much slower because in order to kill a lion, you have to become one with the jungle. Right? In all sincerity, you had to be in tune with the nature. You had to listen to the birds. You had to watch the birds going south. And through that, they would give you a signal. They would give you a tell that something big is coming. Maybe you should get out of here right now. So my point is, the man at that old time frame was way more in tune with nature. Yeah. Now, we fast forward today, we skip our grandparents. We lost touch with that tremendously in comparison to the two. Now, if I backtrack to just our grandparents, right, they were more in the survival mode when it comes to masculine energy, right? Where it's like, it's not really so much by choice. The lion example, going to hunt in the jungle, this is a tradition. This is a cultural tradition. That's a choice. You can decide, do I want to become a man or not? Yes or no. You don't have to go in the jungle and hunt the tiger. You see what I'm saying? But our grandparents and even their grandparents, they didn't have choice as much. So like you said, Simon said it earlier, the circumstances have changed drastically, right? They had to, whatever they were dealing with.
Night and day difference, man.
Huh?
Night and day difference.
Night and day difference.
Yeah.
And so when I think pace, I think that's the most critical thing, that what we're now, as the younger generations from our grandparents, we're able to start stepping, and this is the key, it's a choice. We're able to start stepping back into running our own pace, right? We're not as much in survival mode as our predecessors trying to make it happen.
It's different now too.
It's very different. You
know what I mean? Survival mode now is just paying rent.
But it's like a lot have gotten out of just that stage, and there are plenty still in that stage. And I just want to speak on, if anybody get anything from this one question, just remember pace, because for me to be able to sit for the last 2 days, what is today? Today is Thursday. So on a Wednesday and a Thursday, essentially all day, even after this live, I'm going to go sit down. Same. But not all our grandparents, they weren't provided that option to run that pace, to just decide, I'm not going to work today. Yeah. I'm not going to do anything today. I'm going to actually sit in the sun. I'm going to charge my genitals. Yesterday I spent time pulling out oracle cards for myself, for my partner, and for other people that I care for. Pace. To be able to slow down enough to decide, I'm going to spend 3 hours doing this very slowly, not moving, doing nothing. This, what I think, is one of the largest differences of why the rebirth, the reawakening of the masculine energy is allowing itself to come back into integrating the feminine. Because masculine energy was never designed to be alone, period. Feminine energy was never designed to be alone, period. When we integrate the two, I as a man integrate my feminine and my masculine, whole different beast. When a woman integrates her feminine and her masculine, whole different beast. And this is what we're being awarded in the modern time. And what this is allowing us to do is transcend the form of awareness altogether and get back to universal consciousness, which you can't become more or less conscious. Consciousness itself is a pure existential energy.
Yeah.
It exists. Period. It just is. Now, our awareness of certain forms of consciousness, we can grow and outgrow certain forms and certain restrictions and blah, blah, blah. So my key thing with that is, when I think divine masculine energy today was different from, depending on what timeline, our grandparents till now, is we're getting back to the natural cyclical rhythms of nature, our internal nature. But what you got? You got anything?
Let's go to the next one, because I'm gonna hold on to that process. I'm gonna hold on to that thought, but I know I'll anchor that one.
Right here. What causes detriment of your own mental health? Like, at what point did you come across a mental health crisis where it's like make or break? It's like forcing you to transform.
That's a good one. My force of transformation was leaving the nest, leaving my mother's house.
Yeah.
Instant
every male.
Instant thrust into the real world inferno instantly. And if I even go back even further of my younger age, I got hit by a car. And that in and of itself created a huge shift in my mind and how I viewed myself. Like I had all the right reasons to make myself a victim, right? Like, look what happened to me. Like, this wasn't fair. I'm just a little kid, you know, just to a 12 years old, broke my jaw and everything, right? And like, and that gave me, that really shifted my headspace with like, okay, what is God? Because I had a lot of time to myself. Who is God? Who am I? I started training more. You know, that's when training and holistic therapy started happening for me, from like acupuncture to fasting, not even on accident, because I really couldn't fucking eat. You know? I couldn't eat for like 4 months. You know, all my food had to be blended. Sometimes I just didn't eat at all. It put me in a position of growth, and all the way up until that timeline to my life now, you know, like that's been my livelihood, which is insane to say, but it's true. When I look back at what happened to me way back in the days, you know, it was a gift, and I understood that gift, geez, when I was like 14, 15. Applying it and whatnot, of course, is I think lifelong, but that's where I'm at now. And leaving the parents' nest, using that gift as my catalyst to make a living and eat for myself. When you leave the nest, you're like, oh shit, I can't. I gotta cook. I gotta clean this house. The magic ain't happening no more. You know, when you're a kid, you just wake up and everything is like, oh, this is clean. Blah, blah. You got no structure. You just go do what your parents do. Now you create all that structure. You have to fend and defend for yourself, for what you're trying to create. You know, and so it's, dude, man, you have to, you know, for me, it was like, you got to quadruple down on your effort. This ain't doubling down. No one's going to like save you type of attitude and mentality. And I guess that's why for me, I have sometimes a rigid way of like things that I say, I know it ain't for the faint of heart, but sometimes I'm just like, you know, you can't be soft. Like, you can be soft, don't get me wrong. It's just, you can't be fucking like lazy. You can't be sloth. That's like my number one shit. I hate that. Sloth and laziness that isn't earned. Oh no, yo, stay away from me. Because at a point in time, like, look, man, I'll be straight.
My man said poison. Sloth is poison. I mean, it's one of the deadly sins for a reason.
Yeah, man. It's just look. You got the fire going, right? And everything starts raising up. For me, and I'll do a quick example, right? Of like, anybody can use their circumstances as a crutch. They can exacerbate it to whatever hyperbole they want. People can blame their parents and their upbringing. You know, at the point in time, like I'm always saying, you gotta really step up. And I get that not everyone grows at the same pace at the same time. You know, everybody that's viewing and watching, I get that. I understand that. So there's a level of patience that you have to have. But what I also want you to understand, at least from my headspace, is that like, I had all the reasons in the world to not be where I am today and take another way out, to victimize. I have actual like reasons, and I'm sure there's people who have worse things than I do that are living, but all the more reason for you to understand, oh, introspective, I don't really have it as bad as I think. Right. Traveling has done that for me, where you can think about it, but then when you actually see it, you know, like, we're talking about what caused a detriment to my mental health. Not everyone makes it. You can't.
Yeah, that's a sad one. I can give you a Ralph Smart pause. For one.
Go to the left, motion to the right.
Yo, I can't lie. That one hit me hard. Like, not everybody's gonna make it.
That gets me all the time.
It gets me. I can't even lie. I think a little bit less today, like in these days, but when I look at some of what caused those mental lapses, it's that like people that I really care for that I thought was gonna rise with me
Yeah.
didn't. And that is very painful for me. It really is because it seemed like it became more and more frequent. It seemed like wow, like less and less and less and less and less. And I think actually funny thing Jay-Z said when he's close that made it better for me. And it was like, something like less is more. I don't know. I don't know what he said, but the phrase is around something with less is more. There's plenty of us. Oh, less is more. There's plenty of us.
Things in life that are scarce is why it has its value. It has its value because it's scarce, and that goes with everything. True love, friendship, people, and so it's scarce. And once again, you make the toughest decisions sometimes, and so it's not easy. I'm not saying that you're gonna go turn into David Goggins tomorrow and become the hardest man on earth or whatever. What I'm just saying is that like there's a constant frame of work, and I always use the dollar as a reference.
Mm-hmm.
You see the dollar, you see the pyramid, right? The back of the American dollar, and what happens is that at a point in time, it caps off the higher self.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I've used that as a representation of like you've built that base, and some people just stay down there, where you yourself find the level of ascension. Now, just because you did that level of ascension, now they say it's lonely at the top and you have only a few circle of people. For me, I think that's how I like to do it. But I don't ignore everybody that was down there. Like if I go back down there, I just know how to maneuver through people. So do you completely exalt them from your life? You can do that. You can completely excommunicate people. That's up to you. Is that healthy is another thing. Whatever your circumstances are is
it's
totally
the how.
it's the
How you excommunicate somebody.
Yeah. We spoke about how you win.
It's how you win, how you communicate, how you do it can be the make or break in your own mental journey. It's like it's not that you cut them off. That was the bad part. Did you cut them off with grace? You know what I mean? Did you try everything you could before you cut them off?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like what was the effort you put into it? Did you pretend you cared about that connection or relationship more than you did and looked for something different that was just hidden? I think the how really, really matter. Sweet. So this next one kind of came up. Number 5. Libra Sun, 8th house.
Who
Personal
else
experience.
who else got like anything big Libra placement here?
I don't.
Yeah, you ain't got
nothing big. No,
I don't got Aries, so
yeah, I can't say I got nothing. I can't say I got nothing big. The closest I have, and I have realized this Libra impacted me a lot. It still does. I'm waiting for the South Node to go into Libra to see what monster wants to come out. But I don't have a planet, so it's not as like ooh. But my Libra 12th house.
Well, it's the sun for me.
Yeah, it's the sun. So that's huge for you. You can't
it's the primary masculine energy that drives a chart of lots of like feminine energy and all that stuff, right? So what's the dangers of being telepathic as a Libra sun? I'll start with that. Okay. In my life right now, and always, people have always like confided within me with everything that they've had to say, and it's like enhanced this like mental capability to like read people, very, very like fast, and like you can kind of read a situation very quickly. Don't ascertain and stay rigid and molded into what your telepathic thought was. You may have thought the right thing, but maybe people change, right? I'm just saying like telepathy or just like a very strong mindset.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to be worked. I'm just saying like you need to look at this. Libra rising, wishy-washy, could never balance himself. Well, it's interesting with the Libra. Like we were talking about before about my whole Capricorn rising thing, and I recognize that like I never had issues of a regular Libra. Like I don't people please for the sake of everybody. I people please, like I don't do that.
I think that's your eighth house. Your eighth house makes it very, Scorpionic energy is like, look, it's authenticity or nothing. It's like, look, it's like, let's get to the purest of the matter or nothing. So in relationship, let's get to the thick of the relationship or nothing at all. Like, I don't need the surface level. So Libra in the eighth house does bring a very different element because, it's integrated. I told you before how Libra and Scorpio were in the sky. And before we had telescopes in modern time, it was one constellation. They overlap. So they were just one zodiac at a certain point in time. Libra wasn't separate from Scorpio. So Libra in the eighth, it kind of has this like, look, I got both.
I never knew that one. I'm gonna write that one down.
Oh, yeah. Man, the stories go on and on and on.
Right. So then, being a balanced communicator, a balanced communicator is, I guess the best thing with that. I myself have always wanted to give respect and credence to listening to everyone's opinions and side. So it kind of makes me a quiet person in a room because I'm really like listening to what you're saying. So as a balanced communicator, I've always seen it as my responsibility to make sure that other people are heard. Like, hey, I really heard what you said, man. I think that was a great idea. Like, don't just because you felt like you were ignored, trust me, you weren't. Like I do that sometimes.
Just because you felt like you were ignored, you weren't.
No, I don't know what to tell you, man. It just is.
No, my bad. That caught me off guard.
No, it's cool. No, it's like that. Like some people like, and I guess that's part of the whole telepathic thing. Like maybe
that's the part of the telepathic part. That's why I made the question like that, because y'all really do be hearing thoughts like,
yo, man. Sometimes it'd be like, nah, you ain't gonna get me. I thought that when I was overthinking, man. Like just I don't know, but with great power is great responsibility, like anything, and just use your powers wisely. As marriage and as a lover, I mean, balance is key. You understand everything that like divine masculine must understand its role, and divine feminine must understand its role, and then how the both of you merge with that together is what's so beautiful. I think that the communion of those two energies of man and woman is godly. I'm a firm believer of that. And communication is absolutely key. Very, very true. Very, very true on communication. Yeah, man. And even I myself, I'm working on that, right? Like, sheesh, you can have a fear of saying something or like revealing something, but like in that revealing and vulnerability, and this is a full-grown man telling you this, like you will find the better you and better solutions with your partner. So like do it's so powerful. That is so powerful. That's like an epiphany for me, and I'm working on that vulnerability.
Sure. So as a Libra, maybe you can address this best, because maybe this is a part of the dangers right now. The first comment started off with Libra sun can easily be the ostrich, and so I kind of asked, like, what does that mean? And apparently it's about them burying their heads. I forgot that they did that. Like, I'm not an ostrich.
Yeah, look, man. All I'm gonna tell you is that Libra's always burying their heads in the sand like the ostrich instead of handling a situation. Two things: either one, if you care enough, help them, make them recognize something, or two, is like what we said before. Are all Libras really like that? Are all Leos really like that? Because if you met me, you would be like, oh shit, he ain't no ostrich. This an ego or something like that. You know what I mean? Like everyone is really different, and like I can't speak for every single Libra, right? I can't speak for that, so I don't know. But
I will say I have met a lot of Libras who just run away. I cannot lie. Like, I mean, I could at least pull like 6, 7.
So compare me to those 7. Am I anything like running away?
No, I've never really seen you run away. I will say that your level of intellect, you are intelligent enough to know a situation before it comes and to preemptively head it off. Whether you realize that or not, that's a different story.
Yeah.
But I have recognized that you can preemptively, and this is kind of a lot of what a lot of Libras do. Like, that's the part of the whole mind reading part. They know before it's spoken. Like, things don't have
Yeah,
to be spoken. They
yeah.
already know. So
Hmm.
they can start the direction. And that's the key, because Libra is a cardinal air, right? So
Yeah.
it can cardinally push the direction of the discussion. It can say, look, here's the way we're gonna go. And
Hmm.
so I have noticed that Libras can easily, and I've seen this with a lot family members. I never really dated a Libra, thank God. I'm kind of happy I never dated a Libra, if I'm being honest. At least not direct. Like, I've had people had Libra placements.
Why we get a bad rap? Huh?
Well, why you got a bad rep, and what really is true, I think, could be very different stories.
Yeah, I agree.
Why you got a bad rep? I think that the biggest, I feel like Libras don't take a lot of time to explain themselves, where they make decisions selfishly, not realizing that the opposite shadow
Mm,
side of them is Aries. They will make a decision for themselves, but not really include the other person with the understanding of that decision. It'll kind of just happen more cutthroat. But they don't see themselves like that, and no one really does. That everybody always sees Libras more as this balanced thing, but we
yeah,
got to always understand every side has their shadow, and the shadow
that's
is
pretty dope.
Aries.
I like that, man. That's good.
And Aries is like, look, I got my answer, so whatever. At least at an immature level for Aries. So I feel like that's part of the bad rep, where people always tell Libras, this is what you are. But it's like, people don't realize, like, Libras are absolute freaking savages, and they most times don't know what they are, right?
No.
And so I think the other part of it is, like, for Libra, if they're dealing with somebody who's not of high status,
Yeah.
then they don't matter, and that
That,
within
that's
itself can be
yeah.
some arrogance.
High status and aesthetics, probably, right? We're into beautiful
The
things.
aesthetic thing could work, yeah. That's a part of it. They could choose a person because they look good. I've met a lot of Venus and Libra girls,
Hmm.
and they get the man with the Ferrari, or they put value on the Ferrari. They put value on the fact that he has something of visual value,
Mm.
or status that claims his status. And I find that most of them that I've talked to, or even been friends with, they're like, yeah, I realize now that that's actually just not what I want, because there's nothing intimate about that process. It's
Mm.
just superficial. So I think this is why they get a bad rep.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you meet evolved Libra energy, I really feel like they're the real hero. In all sincerity, like,
Yeah.
they're the real hero.
I
I
can
feel like
understand the hero
you know what I
complex.
mean? Like, they're the real hero, because the same way they could use those people with power and influence for their own selfish needs, they also could use it for politically just and moral reasons. So
Hmm.
this is that other side where it's like, look, if I'm a Libra in my high frequency, I know the senator of Uzbekistan, and I can stop the Ukraine and Russia war
Yeah,
tonight. You know
yeah.
what I mean? And they like, I can do it tonight with my influences alone.
I
And
got a
so
guy.
it
I got a
takes
guy for
time.
everything. I got a guy
They
for
got a
everything.
guy for everything.
I got
They
a guy for
really
everything.
do.
You're so right.
So I think the key is whether they use those connections for a for a social purpose, like a social and morally just reason. If I think more Saturn like, if they use those high power connections for the social collective, because Saturn is a social planet. So they need to see where's their Saturn to better understand, how will their Libra play out on the social level, because it's
Mm.
exalted right there. And then there's that other side where you got the Venus level, where it's like, that's more personal. Venus is a personal planet. Like, it's just like, this is, so you'll see wherever your Venus is at, that are likely would there be a little bit more for, like, look, this is for me, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is where it's about, where Venus can be social, sure, but it has that half of Taurus where it's like, look, I put value on the things that I have, the things that I've accumulated, and the
Right.
relationships that I have, aka this is for me. Like, and then there's that social contract they have where they understand their Saturn, that will help them expand and hit their higher frequencies, the frequencies of a duty beyond themselves,
Mm-hmm.
something Hokage status, like we said earlier, versus just trying to become the best.
Mm. They have a Lilith in Libra, Uranus Libra. I can think of 2 Libra sons that were savages. He had to call the cops.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I've met some. I'm not even. No, I can't even say all that much. I'm about to tell on myself. I'm about to tell on other people. I've met some Libras though, man. When I tell you, cutthroat, just take what they want from people and play along to perfection the whole way. And then as soon as they got everything they need and they bled you dry, they're like, who are you again? Like literally they have that, like they can, keyword can. And again, these are lower frequency Libras. So that's the key to understand for everybody listening. This is a lower frequency Libra. This is not a high frequency Libra. High frequency Libra is the hero that you want to be in charge because they will make the real diplomatic solution. The type of balanced words you hear. Keyword is balance. So it's like, what happens if we lean on one side of the balance or if we lean on the other side of the balance? That's the key. It's like to understand there's levels to everyone's personal awareness and how they decide to align. But a real Libra, they're very tribe orientated. Like, you know, they focus on preservation. They know it's kind of the comment you said earlier about the goat and the tribe or whatever, where it's like, if there's a bad goat, Libras know, look, you got to go because 3,000 other goats matter. And if you're going to infect us all, you got to go. And they'll make that decision. And so it depends on what frequency Libra. It really does. Let me see what's going on with this. Oh, I said right here that I'll share my Gemini and Aqua joint. Let me see this. All right. And then, what's the dangers of, no, I already said that. All right. And then we got our last question. So I'll share briefly what's up with Venus and Gemini. I guess the question was originally what about mental? What's the dangers about being telepathic as a Gemini Aquarius? Yeah. So, they differ from Libra to Gemini to Aquarius. These are all air signs. All air signs have clairaudience as a gift. When I say clairaudience, understand, I'm talking about the messages that travel on the winds, which means you have to be quiet enough to hear it because the wind is very silent. You know what I mean? Like the wind it's not going to bark. It's not going to yell. It's just going to blow by you and say, hey, look, did you hear what we had for you? It's the birds that are chirping. Do you listen to the birds? Did the bird peep 3 times when it gave you a heads up? Okay, it's telling you numerology number 3, and you got a message to go create this artistic project, whatever. So the key thing with Gemini and Aquarius, and like I said, I have a Venus in Aquarius on the unconscious side, and I have a Venus in Gemini more consciously speaking. From the Gemini side, the dangers could be just playing too much, if I'm being honest. Like just playing people like a fiddle. Listening to conversations, listening to discussions. What was the full question? Let me type it so I don't have to keep going back and forth. How would you know? What's the dangers of being telepathic? Yada yada yada. So the Gemini is telepathic. All right, Gemini, Aquarius. So the Gemini telepathic, this could be playing games. You know, Gemini is home in Mercury, right? And so they're very objective. They just focus on information collection. So in a discussion, in a conversation, they're verbally hearing what you're saying, and they're also telepathically understanding what you're saying simultaneously. And so the danger with that is how to decide to use the information, because Gemini can literally play around. And so when they recognize that you're playing games, they're 7 years old in human years, and they can play like a 7-year-old kid would play. Imagine if a 7-year-old kid realized you were lying to them, to their face, but they can hear it while you're doing it. It's like they start playing, they think you're playing. And so they start playing. And so the mirror image of Gemini when it comes to telepathic game is like the danger is that they're usually mirroring the person that they're talking to. And within that, the mutable air behind it, it gets lost because it's mutable air. This is just air that goes wherever the hell it wants to go. Air that's just free to go where it wants to go, you can't capture it. So The only way you can really capture it or see what's happening on a telepathic level is to see, well, if I'm being honest with my original intention. When I say honest, I mean objective. I mean no subjective input at all. No feelings involved. Just objective. And it's like okay, well, what was I objectively casting out that this Gemini reflected back to me? And that's the hardest part with the whole game back and forth, because it's like, well, is somebody willing to be objectively honest? Because the 7-year-old, the Gemini, the danger of it is it thinks it's just playing. And so sometimes as adults now, okay, because even though the energy is 7 years old, we're still adults, right? I'm still in my 30s. So it's like, as I become aware of this, do I let that become an excuse? Because that's definitely shadow behavior, point blank, period. Because today, I can't do that today and honestly be like, oh no, I was just mirroring what you were doing. Because no, no. You know what I mean? Like, I'm an adult at this point, and I'm consciously understanding what I'm telling you. So the key thing with Gemini is for them to realize that the things that they've learned are actually here to be taught, which is literally what's happening right now. They're always learning. And so it's like, I watch a lot of people lie. I've watched a lot of people play mind games, word games, you be wordsmiths, masters of the words. And it's like, through that, it's about reverse engineering that and teaching higher learning through these same exact principles. So like right now, trying to help people understand Gemini and how it could play out. If I look at it from the Aquarius side, the mastery of Aquarius is truly convincing. I mean, Aquarius can convince you that you had an idea that was like a 15-year well thought out methodical concept that they created. And it's like, you're never really going to understand. So the danger when it comes to the telepathic game with them is that they do fall into people pleasing narratives, but they're not known for it. Libra is, quote unquote, but Aquarius is not known for being a people pleaser, which makes them more dangerous because they do people please and they do get caught providing something, right? This is still Saturn own energy. They provide something in exchange, but a lot of times people don't understand what they're exchanging with Aquarius. And that's where they really got to focus on integrity of Saturn. And it's difficult for them because at the same time, Uranus is their planet, right? So it's like shocking people is what they're here to do, because only when something changed so radically do we all change as a part of humanity and part of society. So it's just about being honest with that entire process and being in integrity and kind of realizing like, okay, look, Aquarius, out of all those signs, they have God level power. Unlike Libra and Gemini. And so with that, there's a certain responsibility when you play a mastermind concept that actually needs to trick and fool and convince people in order to ultimately liberate society. They almost need to play that convincing game, but they also need to make sure that they don't get caught in the power of all of that, which I don't think is tremendously difficult for them in all sincerity, but they do have some internal battles to deal with on their shadow level, because the fact that they're so masterful to be able to do all that, never get caught, is what can negatively fuel their ego, negatively fuel who and what they are and their purpose, that they can get lost in all of that. If they get lost in the drama of everything I just said, they also have their shadow side of wanting credit for being able to be such a mastermind. And that's the part of the Leo shadow within them. It's like, man, I'm such a mastermind, but I'm alone in this process. Like, I created something so intricately beautiful, but no one will ever recognize my level of beauty. And I consider my intelligence beautiful. And that can pain them. And in that pain, they can start crossing boundaries and barriers. So that becomes the danger.
Bars.
Yeah, I know. That can obviously go on and on and on forever, but this isn't a particular talk about Libra, Gemini, Aquarius. So I'm gonna bring it to the last question that we had based off the topic. And I think Simon might have some cards she's gonna pull for y'all on the way out.
We'll see.
And here we go. What's the recommendation for youthful men? What did I say? I meant to say not falling into mental health traps the way you or I did.
Let's make it for everybody, right? Not just kids. I mean, it's men's mental health, divine masculine mental. So, first of all, see, that's the thing, right? If you start from the adult, it already aids the youth, right? If you yourself, as a fully grown human man, is doing all this like work, this mental framework, the creation of tribe and beauty and kindness and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, like creating the heaven that you're creating, the world that you want to create, then like those traps don't exist anymore because you now live in a different time frame, a different time zone created by your predecessors. Much like what we said with like your grandparents' problems aren't exactly the same problems that you have now because you're in a different time.
Well, let me clarify for a moment. What are the mental traps?
Well, let's see it, man. Mental traps. I think there's a few of them out there, and I think there's more than what we think. Constant comparison, and using comparison not as fuel for motivation to help you, because comparing can help you do better, but like people just use it in a way to butcher themselves. So there's comparison fueled by the ever presence of freaking media. There is living a vapious life. And what I mean by vapious life, I literally mean like think of the word vape, like smoke, like up in the air, not stable, just kind of goes. Like this is kind of like hedonism in a way of like, I think it's cool to go destroy and degenerate my body with drinking, smoking, having excess amount of sex, pornography, or et cetera, everything that's microwave, right? Everything that you have in close quarter to appease that appetite of entertainment. And it's interesting when I use the word entertain, I'm actually saying tame. You're being tamed. It's the new slave master, right? You're that low level frequency is where they can get you, you know. So that's another trap. Another mental trap can be identifying with your problems, becoming a victim, and actually putting your own depression on a pedestal. Can't be. You can't
You just shot somebody. Give him, take them through a breath. You just shot somebody in the heart. I felt somebody's heart drop when you said that out loud. I felt it. I was like, oh, I wasn't ready for all that. It just said, yeah.
That's how I give it, man. That's how I give it.
What'd you say? Say it again. What did you say?
Putting the depression on a pedestal.
Yeah.
Nursing and cuddling your grudges and your hates and things like that, man. It happens a lot. And this is the thing that happens. Because then that mental thing turns physical. You know what happens when you become overly like unstable and overly emotional? You start doing things that like you start getting people in like gangs, for example, who are just like more weak men or more weak girls in a weak group together doing like crazy heinous things. You know, you start getting people who like start doing like crazy school shootings and stuff like that, like, you know, like,
because that's essentially what we've done. No, we've glorified that, right? Like as a at least as a U.S. society, because the numbers are ridiculous in the U.S. for school shootings. It's like it's become like a way to get on the news. It's like, yo, I didn't get any attention this way, and so I can get it now by just killing a bunch of people, and America supports this.
Yeah, man. Or
dangerous.
It just is extremely dangerous. Which I also want to give some practicality, right? Like we were trying to mention before, what are also some ways on how you can actually like what are you doing? Like what can you do? I mean, as simple as put, you can reverse it, reverse engineer this idea. Like, of course, putting yourself in better social circles. Look for green flags instead of red flags. What's a green flag within yourself? Here's a good green flag. When you are in an argument, your need to be right isn't the most important thing.
Sure.
You know, finding peace and solace within how your older you handled things versus the newer you now. That's a green flag. Another green flag can be like I am not a product of my environment. Okay, how can I exercise that? I can now decide that I am the strongest person in my life. I can really do this. I can maybe be the first. Like have that hug, within yourself and really have those conversations of like, I can be the first one to make something happen. Be the role model that you wish to see in the world. Like it's tough work, but like how else are you going to actually get things done? And this is what I'm saying. If you're going to continue constantly cuddling your depression, you're not going to go nowhere. Is mental health a real thing? Yes, it absolutely is. Like and mental depression and sadness, staying in that level of grievance, man, is a whole other story. And what I'm trying to lend to this is that like in the world that we are now, the pace is not the same. The pace isn't slow. The pace is fast because people have other worriments, like climbing a corporate ladder to feed their kids. Some people might not have time. So this is why it's important to like find that pacing for yourself. This is why it's important to take time and look at yourself in the mirror and talk to yourself and write things down and use your writings and agenda as an actual reference for bettering yourself. Don't just write it down and never look at it again.
Sure.
You know, at a point in time, at a certain age, when things are just like not good anymore. You know when that these patterns are no longer serving me, that they're a detriment to me and everyone around me. You know that. And if you don't know that, then I pray to all gods in existence that your damaging behaviors to yourself and others, you can find the help. I pray that you do, but like you really are more powerful than you think. And if you can put your sadness on a pedestal, you can also put your positivity on a pedestal.
The thing I love you said the most is I'm the strongest person I know. I was like, wow, that hit me hard. I was like, that is just so true.
Yes.
Like that is just so true. If I'm being honest, I feel like I've never thought about that. But when you said it, I was like, damn, I'm gonna write that down on my wall. Like I am the strongest person I know. Like holy, like that statement, honest to God, statement was so empowering because it's like, wow,
yeah, man.
That was a statement for Saturn in Pisces. Swear to God, that's a Saturn in Pisces statement to no longer put your depression on a pedestal and in applicable terms, realize that you're the strongest person you know.
Yeah, that's a spiritual thought into like a physical thing. Like that's the practicality. That's the practicality in it.
Wow, right? I'm the strongest person I know. That is so profound to me because it's like, wow. Because if anybody is complaining, let's just say for a moment, on all of the whine me stories on, look at my life. I got hit by a car. I broke my jaw. You know, I lost my job. Whatever. And it's like if that person took a moment to think and realize, but wait, this is what makes me the strongest person I know.
Yeah.
Like literally the exact thing that's painting them is what makes them the strongest person that they know.
Here's another exercise you could do for practicality, right? Write down actually write down a list of everything you survived.
Right.
Write down a list of everything you survived, everything that has harmed you. Write that list down and you survived it. So those are scars. And I've always been preaching that like scars are an absolute proof you're stronger than that which tried to kill you. You know, I've heard that quote many times from all different people, but it's so true. So true.
Write a list of everything that's harmed you and realize that this is what makes you the strongest person you know.
Yeah, man.
I love it. So we brought some of the practicality in. Is there, did you have some cards you have for them already pulled out?
Cards that I've pulled out? No, I didn't pull out any cards, but I mean, we pulled out Lion's Mane, which was leadership.
Go ahead and give them a closing message.
I got you right now. I got you with if I could find them. Hold on. I'm gonna
give them a closing message.
Sure. I'm gonna go with the card Calendula. I'm gonna do surrender,
Mm-hmm.
which is passion flower.
My man hand picking them. He's like, this is what you need.
This is what you need out here. This ain't no. This is my practical aspect coming into it, everything, right? Like
he's like, forget the oracle. I'm telling you what you need.
I'm telling you what you need to do.
Yo, it be like that though, because honestly, I didn't pick these cards. These two that I had pulled for them earlier, I didn't pick them for them. I didn't pick them specific for them. I was just like, look, this is what's happening. This is what you're getting.
I'm gonna go with nettle. All right, so like just off the top of my head, I'm doing this as of right now as I speak. So intuition.
I can hear you, but you were by yourself for a moment.
All right, cool. So intuition definitely kind of came through to some degree, but like here are 3 cards, right? Like I've been getting into this herbal astrology, and I really like it just because it's been a gift helping other people with it. So here are 3 cards that we got. I picked calendula, which is purity. Nettle is action. Passion flower, surrender. And then and pretty much calendula, purity. I think this is like one of the most accountable cards one could ever pull off. If it's you ever pull it off upright, it's innocence, childlike joy, humility, and purity. New beginnings, trusting in life and vitality. For me, I use this to you all as a reminder that once again, yeah, you are the strongest person that you know, and that it's always darkest before the dawn, as they say. So like you've had such a struggle of a life, you have to understand that there's blessings waiting. You can create those blessings. You can go after those blessings. They're waiting for you. If it's reversed, you have broken innocence, lack of mindset, and an inability to access manifestation, or resistance to new beginnings. So you also are so powerful that you can you can stop yourself from manifesting. And so calendula resembles a sun, a radiant, bright yellow or orange flower. It grows easily and it spreads as joyful across the garden, symbolizing universal abundance. Solar herbs are those that neutralize poison and air in the recuperation of vital forces. I love this. This gets really crazy. Calendula reminds us of gentle and abundant power in all realms of light. Do not allow pain from your past to disable your ability to dream a new life. Oh my God. Don't allow the pain of the past life to stop your new dream. Calendula greatly amplifies everything, man. And it ends up finishing off saying that if you want to be in the realm of the angels, you have to approach it with that childlike innocence and purity. So it's a reminder once again that like you have the ability to taint yourself, but you can also purify, right? Nettle.
Show us the card again.
It's a naked kid and it's golden sunflowers and whatnot. Look at this. And birds, like a garden.
Calendula.
Purity.
That was a beautiful card.
It's a good one, man. Nettle. Next one. Action. Nettle is the action card. It's direct. It's action. It's a fierce protector. Leadership. It is the strength and power in the pursuit of truth. If reversed, it is reckless, impatient, hot-tempered, and overwhelmed. It's a reckless crusader. I like that one because we talked about being like a hero and things of that nature, but it's like, what are you heroing, so to speak?
Sure.
It's a representation of our will to survive, protect, pursue, and act. All things of a parent and a leader aspiring, right? It's the physical element of fire within us all. And nettle activates to purify and strengthen everything emotionally and mentally. It directs ambition, sharpens intellect, and ignites your leadership. Nettle teaches us that on a personal level, we must be strong and protective in order to handle all life's complexities. You meet difficulties with patience and confidence. This allows for emotional maturity and avoids frustration. So do not withdraw your energy in the face of discomfort. If you have ever drawn this card today, There is a need with you to transmute some action or thought or desire. Release the outer skin of the present identity and draw upon the powers of fire to lead and act.
Mm.
And then the reverse of that, you get passion flower, which is surrender. And so, you know what's cool, by the way, of all these things that I'm preaching, as a guy who's so much about like practicality and like grounded flow and spiritualism and money and like getting progressing and family and all this stuff, I have definitely evolved to so many lengths and different things that like I'm up to a point where I'm understanding these lenses of what I can preach through from an earthly realm to a spiritual realm by using cards. And it's like some other people might be like, damn, this guy done lost his mind. But yeah, you also remember that I was also the guy who done kept his mind for a long time. And this is where I am now because of said evolution. So if things resonate within you, it's like, dude, like, and if it's calling you, practice it and work with it, right? Everything is for everything, and there's always something for everyone. So if you're somebody that's out there that's like, I really want to go after something or this resonates with me, then work with it. Surrender into it. Passion flower, sacrifice, surrender, choosing growth, trusting discernment, and rituals of letting go. This is like one of those things that counteracts that of like Capricornism or the Western lifestyle or the get it after mentality, where sometimes when you are manifesting, the importance, and we spoke about this before in the beginning, when you find something that you like fitness, it can be an escapism. And then when you don't have it, it could be like horrible. Letting go and letting go of like expectations with your manifestations, I think is a power.
Yeah.
It's skill. Like that ability to like let go and like let God, that higher level of discernment, universe, karma, all that. Sheesh. If passion flower surrendering is reversed, it is deception, misguided intentions, deceiving opportunities, and unexpected halts with bad judgment. And the guidance for passion flower, it is a symbolization of surrendering and crucifying your ego. What a word, crucify the ego. You can take that for how you want to take that, right? You can pure it, you can burn it. If it don't serve you, you can kill it, right? The owl in the card symbolizes the great understanding perceived from both sides of the coin, whether if the card was upside down or upright. The goddess of passion flower bestows upon us unseen truths of letting go. And the owl within the card is the symbolic nature of discernment. It is able to light up what is needed. And passion flower today might reflect actions that may need to be suspended that aren't aligned in your spiritual path. So honor your intuition. It's okay if projects or original ideas come to an unexpected, unprecedented halt. Discernment is key to experience greater truths and opportunities. There's your 3 cards.
Bam. Give us the sauce. So that wraps the day. I was just looking for your link. Check the description in the bio, ladies and gentlemen. You'll find Simit exactly where he wants to be found. You'll see, I believe it was your website that we put up.
Yeah, I got my website there. Yeah,
Cool.
I think I got the Instagram.
You'll see his website. You got the Instagram too?
I believe so. Yeah. If not, it's underscore Summit. You can type that in, I guess.
I could type that one. That one's super
Yeah.
simple. Okay, underscore. I was looking for it, but like, all right, that's the Instagram. So definitely check him out if you really rock with it. You'll see plenty of calisthenics. I know he's always looking to incorporate more and more of the philosophies shared today. That said,
on that.
is there any questions that anybody have in the chats that y'all want to share? And if so, and if not, Simit, I'll ask and extend the same to you. Is there anything that you want to say or share that wraps up this whole mental health message?
Yeah. I believe this is something that I don't know if it's for everyone, especially in terms of beliefs, but I'll share it regardless. In the relationship of like man, woman, woman, man, I believe that we are co-creators,
Mm.
and that the closest creation to God and the universe is a woman. She has that ability to do so.
Mm.
In relationships, I think it's important to really honor that, because that power is literally from the unknown. So imagine all that power that you can do these things. It's no wonder why there can be like this emotional tornado.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for men, right, is masculine mental health, coming from a lens of that standpoint as to why a woman or a female may act the way she acts, like your abilities of discernment and truly understanding, like, okay, spirituality or this level of godhood or something like that, like what can you do for the feminine energy to, you know, provide for her to get to that level of understanding for herself. Imagine if your lady had that understanding of herself, or your friend or your mother, whoever, any woman, that she can do these things. It's a crazy power to tap into. It's a crazy understanding. Once you really see things from that perspective, it helps you understand what your role can be.
Mm.
Now, for however long you want to put up with something, then you put up with that. But like what I'm also saying is that as a man, it is also within your wheelhouse and capabilities to create a sacred space so that
Absolutely.
she has the time to recognize those abilities. I think that's really powerful, because that creates household, that creates good family. I think that understanding that role, like I mentioned earlier, gives you the opportunity to see your woman and your man for what they really are, and it stops this it stops war.
Right.
It stops war. Like, dude, man, if you want to take over a civilization, what you do? You destroy the woman. You pervade their mind. You pervade the minds of men. Not even with armed guns anymore. The war is spiritual. The war is a war for your attention, for what you can be addicted to, for what can get you away from your higher self.
Mm.
That's the real war. You got to understand that these vices are in this world on purpose, and that's what really also destroys your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Vices are not here on on accident.
Right.
Everything now is used on purpose. So like, yeah, make the space for your woman, make the sacred space for her to grasp that feeling of understanding. And all relationships, if they bring you closer to your higher self, to God, to universal power, you're in the right relationship.
Sure. And you know, one of the things he just said that it clicked for me as well is that, like, anybody that has a past relationship, and let's just say that you did right by that person,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they, let's just say they didn't do right by you, or at least it felt that way. Whether that's
Mm-hmm.
true or not matters less in the moment. What I feel like is important to contribute based off what he just said as well is to not forget that karma is not individual.
It's not.
It's not individual. It contributes to the collective consciousness. It contributes. So even if it's not this life cycle, even if it's not this relationship, even if it's not your next relationship, but it's the third one, understand that in any situation that you were in, when you created that safe space, in order for the feminine to play, to create, to love, to rage, to enjoy, to share, all of these other beautiful things, right? If you created that space for a woman who was not ready to receive your own divine masculine, and again, understand I'm talking about this from energies, not even simple as man and woman, but I think you get the point.
Mm-hmm.
Understand that your efforts, no matter what they seem like, especially in the heat of it all, they did not go in vain.
Yeah.
They were not, you know,
Yeah.
your efforts weren't committed in vain. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's not even just about your children anymore. It's about your neighbor. Your
Yeah.
neighbor benefits from that. You
Yeah.
know, the stranger at the grocery store benefits from that. We all benefit from that. And when we start recognizing all of our karma is linked rather
Mm-hmm.
than what I do is mine and mine alone,
Mm-hmm.
then the game changes.
There's another thing I want to add, just one more. There was a talk on self mastery. Everything that I just said right now, I've had that mental framework for a while. The execution of it could never have been done by myself. You know what I mean?
Claro.
You know,
Co-creators.
co-creators. So like everything that I just spilled out right now is from like exercising it, and I give credit where credit is due. My ladies, that level of spiritual pressure where I'm just like I recognize these things and I honor that. So like that puts you in another level of thinking like, yo, okay,
You
this
gotta sharpen.
you sharpen up, and you also need to allow yourself to be vulnerable to a degree with the people that you do as a leader, right? As an intimate space, you confide in those, and it's cool to do that. So you can peel back layers and shit, you know.
1000%. And again, this contributes tremendously to the mental health, especially of males. So thank you for saying it out loud, where it's like to do everything he just said and allow yourself to be vulnerable in the process. That's the truest strength.
Yeah, man.
So if you want to look strong, that's what it takes. You know, it's actually being strong, and being strong is being vulnerable. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's the message for today. I think that's the hit the nail on the head, Simit. I appreciate you. I'll see you back screen, dude. For the rest of y'all, hit the thumbs up and the likes button. I'm gonna press end on this broadcast. Thank y'all for being here. Find him in the description. I love you all. See you soon.